7:02, we will like to call to order the school committee meeting for September 17th, 2020. And I think that I will turn it directly over to you, Dr. Bayetta, for the appointment of district-wide school nurse on recommendation of superintendent.
Right, so this is one of those quirky things in the law where the recommendation to hire an actual school nurse still belongs to the school committee on the recommendation of the superintendent. So we went through a number of candidates and we're down to 3 finalists. And I received the recommendation for Catherine Pendergrass, who resides in Canton, Mass. And comes to us from Randolph Community Middle School for the last year. And prior to that, she was a long-term substitute in Walpole. And she was a staff nurse at Newton Wellesley, and also substitute nurse in where she currently lives, and a float pool nurse at Brigham and Women's as well. So she comes to us with some really, really good background. She's excited to be with us, and she has choiced her children into Norton Public Schools. She's really committed and excited to join us, and we're happy to have her. We're going to be having one of our nurses actually go out on a short medical leave, so this is perfect. We don't have to, necessarily go out. She starts with us, I believe, end of next week or the week after. So my recommendation is to hire Ms. Pendergrass as the district-wide nurse for the district. It is a union position, 182 days, and this will be prorated salary for the remainder of the year pending her start date.
So, Joe, that requires a vote?
It does. It requires a motion and a vote of the school committee on the recommendation. So I'm recommending it. Somebody needs to accept that motion, and then somebody second it.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the recommendation of the district-wide school nurse of the superintendent? A second?
Second.
All in favor? Kathleen? Sherry?
Yes.
Dinesh?
Yes.
Yes. And Kathleen?
She's muted.
Well, we've got 3 votes. We only need 3, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sound good? So, we're excited. She sounds like she'll be a great asset.
Yeah, I really liked her. So I think once she's in, I'm sure you'll be able to see her. And we're going to be putting some plans together about COVID response and that stuff that she'll be part of. So looking forward to that.
That's great. Thank you for all of your hard work. I know that that was something that was on your sort of important to-do list. So
it really was. Thank you to our nurses for helping me with it.
Thank you. So we will move on to the discussion and vote on athletic fee reduction for current active fall sports. Dr. Bayetta?
Thank you. So on the recommendation of reviewing the numbers and talking to Matt, our business manager, we're running 5 sports this fall: boys soccer, girls soccer, golf, boys cross country, girls cross country. As we know, some of our sports for the fall have moved into that, quote, floating 4th season, which is February through, if I remember, April. These sports will have 28% fewer practices and games this year versus the sports last year, which is expected to create a 28% reduction in the revolving account. We are recommending reducing the fee from $350 to $250 per student athlete for this season.
Any comments or discussion?
Just a quick question, and I'm not against this by any stretch. I think it should be a bigger reduction. But just curious if Matt, is that Matt? Oh, I didn't recognize you without the scouting cap. Sorry. If Matt can just give us
a haircut too.
What's the rough number on reduction in revenue with a fee reduction? He just froze. He either just froze or he's dead still right now.
He might have frozen.
Yeah, Matt, we lost you.
I think we'll have to wait. Maybe
Joe, you know that roughly?
Well, I'm going to guess it's probably somewhere around $9,000 as a loss. Could be more than that. That's my educated guess. I don't have that in front of me, to be quite honest.
I think Matt's back right now.
Am I back?
You're back. Yep.
Yeah, I think Joe just said it's roughly about $10,000. I think that's pretty close, $9,000 to $10,000 right now, just on these sports. We're going to take each sport as it comes along and determine what the reduction might be. And each one we'll look at individually and make sure that it's proportionately reduced to make sure it matches up. But we would expect the expenditures on the revolving fund to come down the same as what we're reducing the fee at, because we have lower participation, fewer referees, bus loads, all kinds of stuff.
So I can assume if we went from 250 to 200, it would be 15,000.
I think they're probably pretty close, yeah.
Do we have an opinion on going to 200?
I think our biggest issue right now is we're such an unknown with these sports going forward. So, and we have to do it by season, because if we bill later on in the year, it's going to be even more problematic to get the money. So I'm not opposed to the 200. It's just another 5 to 6 that we have to find elsewhere. And again, we do see some potential cuts coming from transportation area. There's some concerns about number of referees are actually going to be at these sporting events. There's a very good chance that, for example, soccer only has 1 referee, not the traditional 2. So there's a savings of about $90 per. So I'm not opposed to the 200. I get the idea behind where you're going with it.
Yeah, I think I don't want to speak for everybody on the school committee, but I think I have a general sense that the fees have been a thorn in our side for a long time, and I think we should have had this conversation last year, and I get why we're having it right now and why we didn't have it last year. But if it's not too much of a burden on us, I would actually say we should go to 200.
I would agree. I was hoping it was more closer to 150, 200. I think that we just have to be careful when we use the wording. We'll find it somewhere. I think we just need to be very clear where we're getting it from, so that people don't mistake.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Sherry. I think the only way to really find it within this current budget situation would be the potential savings, and I'm going to use the word potential savings, on the side of the referees, the transportation. As you know, the games are all going to be played for this fall on Saturdays and Sundays, except for golf, which is already underway because of the whole daylight savings time and all that stuff. And then the competitive referees, I know for a fact that that's a problem right now. Somewhere around 60% less referees available right now. So there's a potential savings there as well. Even though the 1 referee gets paid a little bit more, that you still see a savings. But the transportation is the big one, because we're going to be practicing on site, so that doesn't cost us anything. But then the games, because they're on Saturday, except for the travel days, even then we want to be talking to our families about traveling, because if you have a soccer team with 18 players and JV, you got 36 kids going, that's multiple buses instead of just 1 bus that we have to take. So we're going to be looking for our families to probably support some of that.
Do we have to provide the busing, or can we have families?
Well, yeah, so you get into this whole issue about how kids get there, right? So we love the word family, but that could be an older brother, not a mom or a dad or a guardian. And then you open yourselves up for a lot of other questions about carpooling with teenagers and all of that. So that's always the concern with student athletes.
Well, I think it's tough too with the TVL voted that parents, or there's not going to be any spectators. I think it's tough if we do have parents driving. That's torturous for parents to have to sit there unless they can watch from their car.
Right.
Yeah.
Forgotten the whole thing, but anyway.
I mean, I'm happy to look at this as a potential seasonal expense instead of just an athletic department expense. I don't know, Matt, what you think about that, but in other words, we'd be looking at what did it cost us for all of these sports for this season. So the coaches' stipend, the transportation, and any other costs associated with that. And then next season we look at it again, recognizing that some of these seasons' expenses are different. What we don't want to get into is soccer is going to be this, and cross country is going to be that, and golf is going to be this, and football is going to be that, because it's unmanageable.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to also say, I think that the decision that we're making tonight is for just potentially this year, is that that we would want to make kind of the choice of what we determine to be the athletic fees would be for the entire year, so that when we get into the other 3 seasons, sort of fall to winter, spring, that we would assume that all families would, or all student athletes would be a $200 fee. Is that correct?
Right. So the idea behind this is that we have no idea if season 2, 3, and 4 are going to happen here. So
Exactly.
the fact is, we haven't. This year is a different year. I would treat this as this yearly situation as we have almost everything else that we've done. And so the idea is we're just trying to 100% just deal with expenses for this season, not knowing if we have a season 2, 3, or 4 at all,
Right.
or we don't have a winter. You know, we still don't have an understanding of basketball. We still don't have an understanding of wrestling. You know, we moved football to the fall, to this floating season, but it's a high contact sport. Hockey's still up in the air, even though you still have all of these private leagues and so on that are running. You know, the MIAA is running off of other situations. One of the Big Ten or one of the conferences is bringing football back after announcing that they weren't going to do it. And then you've got, you know, these pro sports in a bubble. So, you know, it's catch-22.
So
So
I
you're
think,
saying we're going to take one season at a time. We'll vote for this season right now, and then
Well, again, if we don't have a season in the spring, if we don't have a winter season, then I don't have potential any expenses for that season, right? I don't have to pay coaches, I don't have to pay transportation, I don't have to pay rentals, I don't have to pay so on and so forth. So I think this is a unique situation, I guess, is what I'm suggesting.
and I think it's important to also say that this is just sort of for this particular year, that we potentially will go back to what our traditional fees have been sort of for the academic year or for next year. I think it's really important that families recognize that this
Right.
doesn't mean that Norton can cover the financial cost of athletics. That for all of our sort of advocacy and sort of fighting to get a more substantial budget, that we just don't have it.
So the reason why the math was done around 28% is because they do have less practices. They are only playing a 10-game season instead of 18 or 20. So therefore, when you look at all of that, and there's still expenses, for example, the stipends haven't changed, the bus costs have been cut. So we're just trying to break even with those. That's why 28% of 350 is 252. We went with the 250.
Yeah, and I just want to also kind of circle back into something that Joe said earlier about the expenses of each of these sports and how they differ, et cetera. The athletic fee has never been an offset. You know, it really isn't. None of these sports pays for themselves through their fees, so we should be very clear about that. There might be one that does actually cover its expense, but outside of that, these are all an expense, and this is not something where, well, we can pay for it now. We couldn't pay for it before, we can't pay for it now, but it's part of being a community, part of being a school district. You know, these are the types of things that we should offer, quite frankly, and we shouldn't be charging an arm and a leg for. We certainly shouldn't have the highest fees in the state. I think that's egregious and outrageous, quite frankly. So I mean, personally, I think the time to move them down is now. I hope it sticks, but you know, to your point, Carolyn, everything's year by year. It always is. It always has been. It always will be.
I think it was just really sort of important. I mean, this is, I agree, Dinesh, we've had these conversations for years about our fees. I don't think any of us really are happy about them. So I just wanted to make sure that kind of the public knew that this was potentially going to be a discussion for this particular season, for this year, and that fees are not going to be going away. Just to make sure everybody knows. So it sounds like, I think, I know Sherry chimed in and Dinesh chimed in. I think I also am chiming in that I think the $200 fee would be something that I would feel more comfortable with. It feels like it's the right thing to do for our athletes and their families.
So you need a motion on that in a second.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, that's fine. You just need a motion in a second to go to
Okay.
200.
Very, very quickly, do we want to open this up to public comment?
Yes. So I was just going to do that, Dinesh.
All right,
Great
so-
minds think alike. So I do see that we have attendees with us tonight. Is there any comments from those in attendance? Questions?
There are no questions right now.
I'm not seeing any. Okay, I don't see any.
I just want to mention too, I think that for anybody that might be listening, you know, due to this COVID and some parents may be out of work, I think that if, you know, there are kids who want to play sports and are having a hard time financially, that they should, definitely reach out to the AD. There are private nonprofits in town that are willing to help some of these families out. So I just think it's important to mention that, for families that are struggling, there is some help out there. If I hate to see a kid miss a season because of this pandemic. So I just want to mention there are nonprofits that are willing to help.
It's a great point, Sherry. Thank you. So when we do the motion to approve, Dr. Bader, do I include what the sort of amount is? It's different than what you were proposing?
Yeah, you're just changing the original recommendation to 200. So you need a motion that instead of saying 250, you're having a motion that says that you're recommending, the board's recommending $200.
Okay.
And a second on that, and then a vote.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the change of the athletic fee for the current fall season 2020 to the $200 fee?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Dinesh?
Yes.
Sherry?
Yes.
Kathleen?
Yes.
Thank you. And I am a yes.
4-0 carries.
Great. Thank you for
Thank you.
doing that. And then, Dr. Bader, I'm not sure if you have any other topics for discussion?
Just real briefly, since folks might be listening in, we just completed our day 2 of the hybrid model. We'll be entering day 3. I'm not celebrating because I think every day is going to be, we just made the day and don't worry about the next day yet. But I just want to thank, the number of people, specifically the volunteers, not only within the staff throughout the summertime, but really the attention to detail from the administrative team on Open This Up. I had a really interesting conversation, I'll keep the name private, from a staff member today who literally wanted to, she said, I'm going to cry, and she walked away. She was just so thankful about the amount of work and detail that we put into our reopening, and feeling safe. And thank you for all the little things that we're trying to do. It's still not perfect. Every day there's things we're looking at. The Route 123 project is a nightmare for us right now in the afternoons in particular. So we're going to be discussing that next week with you. We're probably going to have to need the school committee to become involved with the sewer department and board of selectmen in order to move that, especially as the days are getting darker. There's no need for we're not getting buses out of the JCS until after 4 o'clock in some instances and over the last 2 days, and that's just not acceptable.
No, real
so
quick.
we need to talk about that.
Yeah, sorry, Jack was made aware, the chair of the select board, and he did mention it to our town manager and the water and sewer. So they are aware, and he is addressing that.
Right. We appreciate that the water department superintendent has reached out. He's communicated. He did get some movement on the morning. They don't start till 8:30. That's been a huge help. But the afternoon continues to be an issue. I guess the project can't be done at night because of the amount of ledge that's over there. They still have 800 feet to go, not including having to go across the street to make the connections. So I'm hearing November. So we've got to, and then they still have to pave, is my understanding. I don't know if that's going to happen or if it's going to happen in the spring. I don't know enough about the project to comment on that, but I'm thankful for the morning. I'm hopeful that we could do something in the afternoon. We're going to look at rerouting some things and see if that helps as well. But thank you to Bloom and the drivers for doing a fantastic job the first 2 days and getting our kids to school. Thanks to the staff for working with us, our custodial crew, which is under some pressure to do things a little differently on a day-to-day basis. So I'm very appreciative, and we'll give you a full report of the opening of school next Thursday.
Well, I have to just, on public record, say thank you to all of the sort of administrators of Norton Public Schools. I think if anybody has been watching the news, not every district has had a really easy opening. So I just, it's from my perspective as a parent of a high schooler, it has been nothing but smooth and easy, and it's so nice to have kids back in the building. So
it is 6 months to the day when we opened yesterday.
Right.
So it's really been, and our teachers have been incredibly positive, our support staff, and I was watching our preschool coming in the last 2 days, and there's a lot of work there. And they're doing it. It's not easy. And we're trying to address the issues as they come up. Make it, if it's important to the staff member, we're trying to address it so that we can keep the positivity going. And as I said to you folks and to the parents, the 3 words for the year: flexibility, kindness, and forgiveness. We're going to continue with that philosophy for the time being.
There was a comment, Dr. Bayetta, on social media, how you helped, I'm not sure if he was a kindergartner,
PJ, yeah, over at the LG.
At the LG. I think it's important. I will sort of share your story because you won't, but I think it's really important that the families in Norton know that you were at the schools to greet students, and that you even walked students who are having a difficult transition. You walked them into the building and got them settled. So I think that sort of, as a superintendent, goes above and beyond, and we really appreciate it. You've been a great leader during all of this, and I think it absolutely shows. I think the fact that we had, and you will agree, not everything is perfect at this point, but the fact that we had such a smooth transition, given sort of the uncertainty and the chaos, I think really demonstrates how hard you and your entire team worked. So I can speak for myself as the chairperson of the school committee. I just want to do sort of a very big thank you. So.
Carolyn, for a second too, I just, I completely agree with everything you said, and I know there's been a lot of text with us and the administrators just really thanking them for what they do. Like you mentioned on the news, there's a lot of districts that are not having the great time right now. So, but I do want to give a shout out to our teachers as well, and our paraprofessionals, everybody in the school buildings. I actually have received a lot of feedback from families who there might have been some glitches, being worked on, whatever, but people are very happy with the start of school. And I think it's really necessary to point out that our teachers are going above and beyond and being asked to teach in a way different way than they ever have before. The stress on them is incredible. They're trying to keep their kids in front of them engaged. They're also trying to keep the kids that are learn from home days engaged. I just want to go back to, what Joe said and what I had said at one of our meetings, to please be kind. Don't rush to social media when there's an issue. Go to the Let's Talk, email a school committee member, call a friend if you need to vent. But a lot of our teachers live in town. They have kids in town. This is not easy. We are in a pandemic. Just remember to take a deep breath, and kindness goes a long way.
Fully agree, Sherry. So, is there any additional comments? I can see that there is one comment. Thank you, Melissa. Just wanted to echo a thank you from the remote parent side. The work that has been done has made a great start, and we are so thankful to all of the school personnel. We appreciate that. So, seeing no additional comments.
You need a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussions on potential impact bargaining with the custodial union, and you will not return to
That's too much for me to remember.
You can just say for what I said.
I will do the best I can do.
Yeah.
Can we just do a so moved?
So I need a motion to adjourn our current school committee to move into executive session to discuss impact bargaining with the custodial union. Is that good?
And not return
to our regular school committee meeting.
Yep.
So, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Let's see, all in
Roll call.
favor. Dinesh.
Yes.
Sherry.
Yes.
Kathleen. Carolyn
Yes.
is a yes, and Kathleen, I heard you. You're a yes. So thanks, everybody. See you in a few minutes.
Thank you all.